The following contest is scheduled for one fall with a 60-minute time limit. Making their way down the aisle, Carlos, Mark, Nick, and Remy, the Entrance Ramp Podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Entrance Ramp Podcast. I am your host, Nick Vega, alongside my co-host, Mark Lindsay, covering NXT.
It was a great week. We are going to dive right into the first matches of NXT Takeover. Can't wait.
Our co-host, Carlos Rodriguez, covering Friday Night SmackDown.
Hey, everybody. We had a great week. WrestleMania was awesome, and then we're going to lay it to smack it down on this episode.
And unfortunately, Remy is not here with us covering AEW, but we all three will cover AEW alongside of everything WrestleMania and upcoming this week. Gentlemen, we'll dive right in to Monday Night Raw, coinciding with WrestleMania 36. First things first, Drew McIntyre defeated Brock Lesnar. He is your WWE World Champion. He had a match immediately after Brock Lesnar facing The Big Show. I don't know why, but that seemed to happen. That was a thing. But what do we think about Drew McIntyre's long journey win, Mark?
Well, it wasn't really much of a match. It was more or less both men having their finishing maneuvers hit and kicked out of. With that said, you know, they needed to do it. They stuck with their original plan. I think Drew McIntyre was going to win all along, fans or no fans, and they went with it. So I applaud them for sticking with their plan.
Now, Carlos, who do you think Brock Lesnar's next opponent is looking to be? Let's flip the coin real quick.
I wonder if we're going to get something like maybe a little replay or kind of revenge. I could always see it being like Lesnar being like, you know, when all of this started, it was because of Ricochet and going after him. And maybe he's taking out him and Cedric. Yeah, just do it again. But now with Cedric Alexander, so they get buried more.
Yeah, possibly. I'm not really quite sure who Lesnar next opponent is. I wouldn't be surprised if Brock Lesnar takes off until SummerSlam because of all that's going on in the world. But
yeah, why not? I mean, he has the time. We don't need him around this time. I like to see him as an attraction. That's why I don't like him as champion.
Yeah, I like the idea of him chasing a title. Going up the ladder again. I don't see him doing that because, every time Brock fights, it's usually for the belt. It's never for just, a pure match. So we'll hop right into some other matches that happened during WrestleMania that coincided with Monday Night Raw. Bianca Belair is now on Monday Night Raw. It seems as though she's with the Street Profits. Mark, how do you feel about Bianca Belair being like a Lita type where she's a manager, but she's on her own thing, her own path to greatness?
I really like it. And, you kind of have something similar if they wanted to bring it in with the Usos and Naomi. So I think this is great. And it's going to give you some six-man mixed matches. So I think it's great. Bring it on. And what if the Street Profits go against Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch? I mean, there's a lot of possibilities here.
Now, Carlos, on the flip side, it seems as though ever since AEW has started, WWE has been more lax in the sense of acknowledging marriages, acknowledging relationships. Do you agree with Mark that we'll have more of, I guess per se, people who are couples in real life being couples in wrestling?
I don't mind if it touches upon it ever so slightly, like that when we had last year with the Extreme Rules, like in Philly show with
Lacey
Becky and yeah, it was a little much, but that match was pretty decent. Like we had a good match out of that whole rivalry, but it was just I don't mind some of it, like the Bianca showing up and being this third person with the Street Profits, like that stuff makes sense. Like if they integrate Naomi more into storylines with the Usos, that makes more sense. I love that stuff. I always loved when Natalya was with, like Tyson Kidd and Cesaro. Like that trio was awesome to me. As long as they keep it, acknowledge it and use all the parties, not to anybody's detriment. Because like it felt like when everything was going on with the Becky Seth thing, it felt like Seth was the deterrent in that, just because of his mouth. Everything he was doing on Twitter just kept ruining that storyline.
Now, I apologize to the audience, but this all started because Bianca Belair saved the Street Profits during WrestleMania when they defeated Angel Garza and Austin Theory from Zelina Vega. That's why she's all integrated into this whole situation. I wanted to mention that along with the results. So another big storyline coming just out of, I guess, in general, not even WrestleMania, is Nia Jax is back. Do we see Nia Jax going immediately for Becky Lynch, Mark?
Maybe, I think Becky is so stale right now that anything that they do with her character is a positive. She's really become boring. I flip the channel when she's on. She's not really doing anything for me anymore. So they need to freshen something up, and why not go that direction?
Now, Carlos, do you see something along the lines of, where Nia Jax just squashes Becky Lynch in the sense of, you may have defeated these badass MMA fighters, but they've kind of been the same weight and height as you. I am a giant in this world. I will squash you. And I mean, she did that to the Virtuosa. She destroyed her. Let her get in the ring and then just mop the floor with her. And it's not like she's a complete jobber. We know her from NXT, so it's not like she's a jobber or anything like that. But she treated her like one. So that's just a major storyline I want to get coming out of Monday Night Raw. So we're gonna go over Monday Night Raw's results in terms of WrestleMania. Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross from SmackDown have defeated the Kabuki Warriors, who are on Raw for the women's tag titles. For the women's tag team titles. Do we see those belts being elevated and used between both shows, or is this now strictly a SmackDown thing until a pay-per-view comes about and someone else challenges for those belts? Carlos?
I mean, it looks, at least in the future, I mean, we have next week, it looks like we're going to have a women's tag team match as of last night between Carmella and Dana Brooke and Cross and Bliss. So I can see them being on the show for a little bit, but as long as the titles are in picture, I think that is the benefit to the titles. They haven't been on air other than like Asuka's match with Becky earlier this year was a good idea because of like the whole what happened last year thing, and she felt like she needed to get that win back. But in general, like the title should be used. Like they haven't been used at all. We have all these amazing teams. Like, why not do something with NXT as well? Like they did it once, and since the Kabuki Warriors had the belt with like Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai, why not just keep going? Like everything so. And the brands are kind of not split necessarily. Like they're kind of stuck in Orlando, stuck at the Performance Center. A lot of NXT people are showing up on Raw and SmackDown, kind of almost in an enhancement sense to the people who are there. Why not just start using these people that we have? Like it's a small pool to pull from. Why not just use them?
Definitely. Flip side, we're going to talk about the Kevin Owens Seth Rollins match. Kevin Owens defeated Seth Rollins. It was basically a 2 inside of a 1 match. Seth Rollins cheated, disqualification, and then Kevin Owens goaded him back into a no disqualification match that Kevin Owens won. Mark, where do you see Kevin Owens or Seth Rollins going after this? I smell that they should fight over the U.S. title because that title has become so irrelevant. They need confidence around it. And
who's the U.S. champion again, Nick?
Andrade, right?
Someone who's been on the roster, so long this year. We've seen so many appearances by this man.
I think that Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins are not done yet. I think if they plan this carefully, there's only one way to end this match, and that's Hell in a Cell. But we all know that's not going to be until what? October?
September. Yeah.
So if they're careful, they can still kind of have this feud go on. I think I would like to see them elevate Buddy Murphy through this. Or maybe Buddy Murphy looks at Rollins and is like, hey, I thought you were going to take care of this guy. You know what? Send me out. I'll take care of it. And you kind of still have Rollins and KO, but Buddy Murphy's doing the matches now. And it kind of gives us a break from seeing all this, Rollins and Owens. But at the same time, Rollins is orchestrating Buddy Murphy to do the matches. So I would love to see something like that. because I think that they can really get a lot more traction out of this feud. I don't think a U.S. title feud between the two would be good. Let the U.S. title kind of stay where it's at. I think you're going to eventually have Aleister Black challenge Andrade, and I think that's going to be a fun story.
Oh, that would be fun storyline only because you have Zelina then again attacking like we did in NXT.
And I wonder, since now that everything's being blended, they're husband and wife. It could be something where it's like, I'm looking at you, and you're supposed to be my backbone in real life. You're going to betray me for your client, and that that adds either friction or it's a face turn for Zelina. So we'll go to Carlos's favorite match of all of WrestleMania, the Boneyard match between Undertaker and AJ Styles. And I guess by correlation, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, because it might as well have been a 3-on-1 handicap match, and somehow Taker still won. How do you feel about this situation? Do you think it's over? Because I don't think it's over. I don't think AJ Styles is going to let this go anytime soon. Carlos.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how he's reintroduced. I'm sure we'll see him in a week or two into WWE proper, but I think I don't think this is over. I think we'll have 1 or 2 more matches with them as long as they're sparse. But man, the spectacle of this match, man, there's no way to speak about it and do it justice. If you you have to watch it and then make your own conclusions to it, because I was a little far behind just because of parent duties. I was I was running 15 minutes behind you guys when you guys were watching it, and I remember getting a text from Nick saying, "Oh my God, this is like Steven Seagal movie," and I was like, "What's that mean?" And then I turned it on and I started watching it, and I was like, "Wow, this is an action movie through and through. This is awesome. I love this. I love this so much."
I'm 50-50 on it, but we have another person on our panel that wasn't so high. Mark, what did you think of the Boneyard match, and what didn't you like?
The Boneyard match actually wasn't that bad. I from a wrestling fan, you always want to see a wrestling match, but I was okay with the production of this match because it was entertainment, and it was The Undertaker how The Undertaker had to be. It wasn't going to be an in-the-ring, bounce off the ropes, do your moves match. It had to be a brawl. It had to be whatever they called it, a Boneyard match.
Yeah.
It had to be that kind of style because The Undertaker, he's now coming back as the badass, right? He's no longer
American Badass, Big Evil.
So my favorite part of the match actually was when AJ was like, please don't. And he's like, come on, man. You think I would do that to you? You hung with me. And you're just like, wait a second. There's no way this is going to end like this. So I really like the character development. I can't believe I'm going to say this, of a nearly 50-year-old guy, The Undertaker. It was character development. He brought back the American Badass. And it was just great to see. So I didn't have as big of my one big problem was when AJ was about to put the dirt and then Undertaker shows up from behind. Just whatever. I can suspend because there's a whole other match that I can't wait to dive into.
But Mark, he's a dead man. He's dead. He's not alive. Yeah, that's fair.
That's very true.
He's dipping his toes. I will say the one disservice that we got is this did play out like a action movie, and it made me think, why haven't we seen Undertaker in more movies other than Suburban Commando?
Well, look, I'm going to say it because I think Nick's thinking it. If you're going to have a match like this, why can't you do Undertaker Sting like this?
Oh, hell yeah!
Please, God.
Also, yes. Where was this unholy trinity? That was the one.
Yeah,
that was no lie. My only disappointment with the match is he touted this unholy trinity, and no one else showed up. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
why would you have the promo?
One looking hilarious, like a 1987 movie. That's why I'm 50-50 on it, because I'm like Mark. I love a wrestling match, but I knew that's not what this was going to be. But it also was hilariously entertaining. It wasn't entertaining in the aspect of oh my God, you got to watch this. I'm gonna show every single person that I come in contact with. It's more like, I'm bored. I'm gonna turn this on and I'm gonna laugh at this because it's really entertaining. To go on to another match that was kind of entertaining, but yet kind of disappointing in my eyes. Edge versus Randy Orton. Edge defeated Randy Orton. The right choice. Edge won. On top
Was it the right choice?
Yeah, it definitely was. We'll discuss that in a second because I think it's the right choice. But yeah, he defeated him on top of the production truck, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
What do we think is the next logical step for Randy Orton and Edge? A rematch, Mark?
I would think that Randy Orton's not going to let that victory escape him. I would think that the character of Randy Orton wants revenge, and I don't think Randy Orton's done with Edge, even though Edge might be done with Randy Orton. And let me just touch upon your point earlier. I don't think the right person did win. You have a guy, Edge, who's coming back from 9 years off, hasn't wrestled in 9 years, and he beats a guy who wrestles almost every week, who's a bona fide Hall of Famer when he decides to retire, in Randy Orton. So I think that they could have just as easily had Orton win that match and still continued the feud the way that they're going to. But I see both sides. It's wrestling. There's always two sides to it. You can go either way. And Edge, yes, avenged his wife and avenged all the stuff that Orton did. But you had a full-time wrestler lose to a part-timer. And that's very frustrating when it's Goldberg. It's frustrating when it's Brock Lesnar. And at WrestleMania, for me, it was frustrating when it was Edge.
I think we all knew that there was no way Edge was going to lose his first match back. We kind of all knew that. So that's why I think it's the right choice, because now, like you said, you can continue the feud. Let Orton be gone for a month. He got the concerto. He's out for a whole month, and then he comes back and ruins whatever dream match Edge is having. And then after that, you have a match, where it's 1-1, and then save that finale for SummerSlam.
Yeah, the only issue I had was not with Mark per se, but last week you made such a compelling argument for why Randy Orton should win and how it should continue on that I could see your point, Mark, where you think Randy should win, and your ideas for last week before WrestleMania were great. It's just weird. I still think that Edge should have won. And especially after seeing the end of that match, that was beautiful storytelling. I mean, just the actual tears coming. I forgot that Edge can act. I know he's done shows like Safe Haven and Vikings, and his tears, just pure agony in his face, trying to basically Old Yeller, his best friend, just pull the trigger on him and doing it for his family and everything. I think that was beautiful storytelling. Now, 10, 15 minutes of that match almost ruined that ending. It's a shame. I think before the show we were talking, I think Nick is right. I think once they got into the office area of the match, it was a little too much. What it should have been, that would have been fine if the also production area wasn't so long. Yeah. If that was a little quicker, if that was just 2 minutes, I don't know, get to the top of the production truck, do that whole 5 minutes of crying, doing pulling the trigger kind of thing, I think that would have been better. But either the office segment needed to be cut or completely cut out, or the production area had to be shortened. Because that is
good. You would cut the office. You're good. There was not. What do you remember other than him climbing that
stupid chain? And
chain I don't remember anything from that. That's pretty much it for Monday Night Raw in terms of WrestleMania and Raw itself. So we're gonna switch gears and we're gonna go over to NXT. NXT had their way of having takeover this week. We'll go ahead and let Mark take control of this.
Well, we had a great number one contender match. Who's going to challenge Charlotte Flair for the NXT title, and Io Shirai really came out looking strong. Of course, my favorite woman in NXT now has been Chelsea Green, and she had a great showing.
Yeah,
I thought it was really great how they, they really kind of sold the injuries, but that match was phenomenal, and it was definitely worthy of a takeover style match. My question to you guys is: do they actually pull the trigger and have Io defeat Charlotte Flair for the title?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so as well. And it's a shame. I'm not saying that it can't be a great match. I think
It'll be
doing
great.
something with Io is great. I don't know what her mental status is for NXT anymore, because I know there's rumors a couple months ago that she was super frustrated with just being her place in NXT and where she was at, and that there was rumors that they were gonna take her up to the main roster so she can. It's like a, hey, here you go. I'm sorry, like an apology for where she's been placed in NXT. I don't think that's fair. I think her winning, I think we're gonna get one of the best matches in NXT history, let alone WWE, with Io Shirai and Charlotte Flair. Those two are workhorses, and we're gonna see something special with both of them.
I agree. I definitely see Io losing this match, but I also see her. This match will tell us whether or not she's going to Raw or SmackDown. She's getting called up. There's no way she stays in NXT because the pool is diluted. Like, there's so many people. There's just now you add in Charlotte Flair. Like, no, she'll get the first crack at Charlotte. It'll be amazing. We'll love every second of it. I wouldn't be surprised if, depending on what happens with Rousey, if nothing happens with Ronda and she doesn't come back for a while, I could see Io going to Raw and taking the title off of Becky Lynch, or maybe just competing with Becky Lynch. And then depending on what happens with Sasha Banks and Bayley, she can go after the title there, because there's not many challengers on SmackDown's women's division.
Yeah, and I think, and another point too with Flair in NXT, that match is going to happen sooner rather than later. So why not have Flair as champion a little bit longer in NXT, and just to showcase some fresh matches, because we haven't had anything fresh for Charlotte in a long time. That's I think the appeal of her being NXT champion after WrestleMania is that she has a whole crop of women she's never worked with. We've seen her and Bayley so many times. We've seen her and Becky so many times. And it's not saying that they're not good matches. It's that we need something fresh from her. And I think I still wanted Rhea to win, because I thought that would have been a better choice just to put her over. But then last week we were talking about it. She's 22, 23. She has her whole career ahead of her. And it's not going to stop anytime soon.
Great.
She didn't need to win. She can get that win next WrestleMania or something. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, she can get her win back from Charlotte anytime. They can have a long feud, a la Edge and Randy Orton. This could be like 20 years in the making, like 15 years. Like, you never know with them. I think this is the most exciting for Flair being in NXT. And it seems like she's still going to be on Raw, because technically she's still a Raw member. Usually they switch brands as soon as they win a championship. But according to all standards and backstage reports, she's still going to be on Raw and NXT.
Well, that's, I would like to see that happen, because I think right now, with the Performance Center being that way, they can afford to have talent share brands. I'm going to butcher this next name, because I'm not really a big fan of these guys, but Induce Share were in action. They took on the jobber team of Everrise, and the old school fan in me loved that the last name of one of Everrise was Martel, playing off of Rick Martel being from Quebec, Canada. I loved it. These guys, I like a good jobber. I like a good jobber tag team, and Everrise, I'd like to see more of them in NXT. Nick, I guess my question is, why does somebody like the manager, Belvin, why does we've known him from Ring of Honor, we've seen him before, he came into NXT, but I like a good manager, but why does he have to bring in these two guys who I just don't think have it? Induce Share just does not look crisp. What are your thoughts, Nick?
Well, I really didn't go over this match very much. So I really don't know a lot about Induce Share. But from what I saw, this was just a basic jobber match. I really need more to go off of them. There's obviously the way jobber matches go. You show your signature moves and whatever finisher you have, and that's pretty much what I got from them. I need to see more before I actually give you anything.
Well, they attacked Matt Riddle a couple weeks ago to try and make their debut, and I guess it was about as good of a debut as you could have when you attack one half of the tag team champions. I will say this: as I watched their debut and I watched their match this past Wednesday, they look like they're missing something. They don't look crisp. They're two big guys, but neither one of them have the Bobby Lashley style body. You know, they're big guys who just happen to be tall, big, and they're no authors of pain. The authors of pain can really go. I'm kind of just holding out judgment because I'm not really impressed yet. I hope that they do improve because anytime you have a menacing tag team, you can really tell stories with the teams that challenge them and go against them. We also had. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Carlos. Go ahead.
No, I was going to mention. Like, I think the crux of it is that they debuted against Riddle, so they went right for the champion.
Yep.
If they didn't, I think it would have been better to build them up a different way. Still go after like a big established tag team, but build them like then this jobber match will make a little more sense. Like, oh, they're not yet ready for prime time, but they're going to get there. Not going right after the tag team champions and then be like, they're still not ready for prime time. Like, nah, that doesn't work really. They need something to build off. They have a good look about them. It's different that we haven't seen something like that in WWE. I'm with you. Like I don't want to say green, but they're not. Yeah, fair. Yeah, they are. It's just it worries me that they're going to go right after the tag team champions. Possibly. You know, I mean, we don't know the status of what everything going on, when that would be. So hopefully they get a couple matches where they don't look so green.
And of course, we had our big blow-off match, the last time ever, between Johnny Gargano and Thomas Ciampa. And, you know, this was kind of shot similar, but not entirely like the Boneyard match that we discussed earlier, where they definitely utilized editing, camera angles, different features of the whole way that the match was shot. Johnny Gargano gets the victory, and thanks in part to a swerve by his wife or his girlfriend, whatever she is, wife, right? Yeah. Candice LeRae turns heel, and I just thought that was an interesting thing. So now, as Nick and I kind of discussed off air, are they going to go the direction of Candice and Johnny being full-on heel NXT? Nick, what do you think?
First off, this was the worst match between the two. I'm going to say that first and foremost. Understandably so because of the situation at hand, but also, like you said, they weren't utilizing the camera angles or even telling a story, honestly. And that's why, like, Candice LeRae's heel turn really doesn't make any sense. So the best thing for them to do is just be arrogant heels from here on out. I don't see them being faces at all. Just be arrogant. I know more than you. I think I'm better than you kind of heels, which, you know, could be kind of true because Johnny Gargano's considered one of the greatest wrestlers on the planet today.
And what they kind of did, though, Nick, is that, you know, I kind of liked what you were saying all along is Johnny Gargano really a heel? You know, he's right the way that Ciampa has.
Right, but now that's morphed into like a narcissist type of thing where like the fans don't believe me, but I believe myself. I'm the good guy, you know, that kind of heel. I don't see him being like, you know, I mean, obviously cowardly because he's attacked people from behind before. You know, it's not like this, you know, Ciampa's the only person he's attacked behind. He's done it before. But I see him being like a narcissistic, self-centered heel.
I mean, and look who his mentor is. I mean, he's being mentored by Shawn Michaels himself, like a person that was able to like go in between heel and face constantly and do it really well. I think we can get something special out of this. It was surprising that Candice LeRae turned heel. I think that was needed. I think that was a good moment. Yeah. I mean, I like the idea of Candice. We need something fresh for Candice as well.
Yeah. I mean, like, she can't get off the ground either. You know, every time you think she might win a title or like be involved in the main event picture, she just becomes like she's like the Natty of NXT. You know, like Natty's nice.
She's the one who fell off the ladder to give Io the victory. Io pushed her off the ladder. She took a bad bump off of a ladder that was prone in the ropes in the corner.
Oof, yeah, that looked rough, man.
Took the loss there. So every time it was so close, she just can't grab it.
But now that she's heel, anything goes.
That's what I'm talking about. So I wonder, and then did you guys catch Killer Cross and Scarlett Bordeaux at the end of the match?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just. It's very quick, but they are in the car that they walk by. So, where does that go? Like, where does Killer Cross and Scarlett Bordeaux come? Do they go after Johnny and Candice? Because that's a great storyline. But I've seen Scarlett. I've seen Scarlett in Impact as a good person, like as like a face, but I've never seen Killer Cross as a face. He's always been a heel. Anytime I see him in AAA or Impact stuff, that'd be interesting to see how they would do it. I think he works better as like a scary heel.
Yeah, I could see him still being a heel. Maybe hinting that now that Gargano and LeRae are on the dark side, they can go ahead and be tag team partners.
Or maybe he's more bad. Maybe he's more evil than Gargano is. Maybe Gargano is kind of like a tweener, and you have the Champ as the face, and you have Cross, who's the actual bad guy.
I love Ciampa as a bad guy.
So do I. He's best utilized when he's a bad guy.
The greatest sports entertainer in the world. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it for NXT TakeOver this week. I guess we'll look forward to seeing what happens for the rest of TakeOver next week. So we'll switch gears and we'll talk about AEW collectively. Obviously, the Wednesday Night Wars. This is the first week in a long time that they've lost the war by 1,000 people.
Yeah,
according to Nielsen. So it's kind of an odd week because usually they're used to winning, and it was a good episode of AEW in my opinion. They always put
a great episode.
Listen, I don't know how Pineapple Pete did not carry the ratings because that got, first of all, Jericho on the mic and doing the play-by-play was the highlight of the entire show. He went between character and being the heel Jericho, and then you also heard the, hey man, we're here to entertain the fans. I'm working with one of the greatest play-by-play guys in Shabani, and he went in between character and kayfabe. And he did so well that I cannot wait to watch this week's episode.
The one thing I want to point out is when who was it? I think it was Sheeta. Sheeta did the Falcon's arrow, and he didn't know what it was called, so he called it Seth's move. He said, and I just bursted out.
Dude, he didn't. That was hilarious. I love those jabs, and a perfect title, a lot to say about Jericho would be Jack of all trades. But in this case, that doesn't really work because he's not a Jack of all trades, master of none. He's a master of all trades. He is just so impressive every week. Like he's 50, right? He's or 49 or 50, and we still find new things that he can do that he's a master at. That's amazing.
I mean, he's doing the whatchamacallit right now, too, the Dark Side of the Ring. If you guys haven't seen it in our audience, if you haven't seen it, I would definitely go check it out if you love the wrestling industry. He is the host and narrator for the season.
Oh, see, that's great, especially with that first episode being about what is arguably like one of his brothers in the industry. Yeah.
It might be the darkest story in wrestling.
Yeah, I as a wrestling fan, I have to do it. Like I have to watch it. I know all of them are on Hulu, so if our fans are listening, you can watch them on Hulu. I definitely saved it, so I think I'm gonna start binging it very soon.
So, speaking of Britt Baker and of Sheeta, we're talking about Sheeta versus Britt Baker. Britt Baker seemed to have a broken nose during that match. That seemed like a hard-hitting, grueling fight. Sheeta won. Obviously with the Kinshasa, but as Chris Jericho calls it, the big knee. What do we think about Sheeta? Do we think Sheeta is gonna, take the title from Nyla Rose? I see Sheeta on TV way more than I ever see Rose. Carlos.
I think she's a great contender. I think she's definitely a good worker. I don't know if AEW really necessarily cares about language barrier. I mean, they did it with Riho. Being a champion, and it's not something that you have to worry about necessarily like with WWE. Like we didn't have Shinsuke as champion, and I'm sure that's because Vince is some kind of a-hole about like, oh, this dude doesn't speak perfect English. Oh, But I think with Cheetah, you have the opportunity to have a great, grueling, and actually physical match. She can go very well alongside like a Chris Statlander. Like she has the physical presence to be a threat to Nyla Rose's championship. And I think after this match too, also Britt Baker looks like $1 million. Anytime there's like a big blood spot that's not like planned, I don't know why it always works in the favor of that wrestler.
Mm-hmm. I was just about to say that, Mark.
It's a T-shirt. It's a T-shirt now. Pro Wrestling.
The broken nose.
Yeah,
the broken nose. When she like smiled and showed her teeth full of blood, I thought right there that is Britt Baker's star-making performance so far. Do we see her start shooting up the ladders? Because it seemed like AEW wanted to push her originally as the face of the women's division, but now that she's starting to get some traction as a heel, do we see her, climbing the rankings in the next, month or so?
I would say she's been used best as a heel. I think that's pretty universal.
Yeah.
Her digs at Shivani and even Jericho mentioning it, it's phenomenal. I think this allows Nyla Rose to drop the title and have a heel in Britt Baker chasing it. So I can definitely see her climbing the ladder. I still don't think she's reached the apex yet. She's still improving. This was a very good match this past week. She's had some really good showings recently. I'm not sure she's there yet. But if you slow build it, don't forget, she's been in the crowd for AEW for the last couple weeks and having interactions with Sammy Guevara and having interactions with other talent. If she's used properly like that, then we as wrestling fans are going to want to see her get that opportunity. So I think if they slowly build it, that's the way to go. I don't want to see her win the title next week for say,
No, definitely. Yeah. I was thinking like in the next couple, like 2 months, maybe at all what is it, All In 2?
No,
double
or nothing.
Yeah.
No. I mean, like all the way in August. That was
yeah.
I don't see double. I don't even know if Double or Nothing's gonna happen.
It's not. It got canceled.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna. Well, I mean, like I don't see them doing something. I wonder if they're gonna do something similar to how WrestleMania was, where it's just in that empty arena and call it Double or Nothing, and have it like on TV, as opposed to people paying for it, because I don't think anybody would pay for an empty arena.
If it's something like a live on Saturday night pay-per-view type deal on TNT, that would be awesome. Have a 3-hour window instead of showing Transformers. Show that,
Those are the little things that you have, like, oh yeah, you guys are on cable TV. You guys got to talk about Michael Bay's Transformers.
So we'll have through a couple segments real quick. Best friends versus best friends. Michael Nakazawa. Orange Cassidy somehow lives in their back room. I don't know how, but he does. And they had a quick fun match. It's kind of odd because Michael Nakazawa is literally best friends with these high ups in AEW, but he's considered a comedy jobber in AEW. Will we continue to see things like this alongside of Kenny Omega, or is this just a one-off? Mark.
So I'm just going to say right now, one guy that we haven't seen in recent weeks is Adam Page. So I think it's safe to say that AEW did their recent tapings without Adam Page in attendance. Mm-hmm. So if they're going to still showcase Kenny Omega, and they did so by having him defend his AAA championship, if they're still going to focus on Kenny Omega, why not elevate Nakazawa in the same breath? The baby oil thing cracked me up.
Love it.
Something that I've seen before on Dark, but I kind of just pass it off. And then when he pulls off his friggin' jock strap,
his thong,
there is some comedy with Nakazawa. So I'm okay with them using him and teaming with Omega to get the rub. And then you could also, have him win a match here or there to kind of say, hey, this guy, he's used to losing, but he has something. So like
QT.
Yeah, absolutely. QT. And, you had the Librarian and Cutler that still haven't won a match, So have them get in on the fray. Have them say, "Oh, we're going to finally beat a guy. We're going to beat Nakazawa," and then have them lose. You can build that in many different ways.
Definitely. So, Carlos, we'll switch over to Brody Lee destroying Lee Johnson, jobber. Did we need another jobber match, or could this have been saved for someone in the Dark Order to go ahead and pick up a victory? Because we all know who Brody Lee is.
Yeah, I still think we need maybe one more jobber match or one more lower level talent match, because Brody Lee needs to be reintroduced to the overall AEW wrestling crowd. Because I mean, look at the reintroduction that we have with him now. We know that he's a good speaker. I never knew that in his time in WWE. He was in WWE for almost 10 years. I had no idea. I had no damn idea that he could talk like that. And he's a beautiful speaker. Now we have him leading a faction in the Dark Order, and he's not a follower like you mentioned before. He is the leader, and we need him. I think one more crazy just squash match, just to for a baseline. This is what he's all about. This is what he does. The vignettes and the that they do with him ordering around the Dark Order have been interesting. Then start building him toward taking out a little more serious threats and building that up little by little. And I think the overall storyline with the Dark Order, I wonder where that's going to lead, where we're going to get to. Because then I think he should soon start going after Christopher Daniels. That should be the big blow off soon.
Yeah, definitely. So for tonight's main event and AEW, it was Cody versus Shawn Spears. Cody took the victory and is now in the semifinals for the TNT championship. Last week we predicted that Shawn Spears would probably win because Lance Archer would get involved. I've been on the Cody Archer train for the finals because that makes the most sense to me. Do we see any difference in Cody ever since he's been put into this tournament because he knows he can't win the actual AEW World Heavyweight Championship mark?
Well, there was a 7-minute vignette that Cody Rhodes released the day of Dynamite that I would ask all of you guys to go out of your way to watch.
It's great.
Yeah. And he said, I need to win this championship. We just like you said, Nick, I kind of predicted that Archer and Cody were going to kind of cost each other because I didn't think that they needed to fight over a championship. That storyline that Jake Roberts is doing such a great job of building doesn't need a championship, but it looks like it's going to go that route. My original pick was Darby Allin to win the whole thing, and I don't think you can do that if Cody's going to go all the way. So I was okay with I thought it was a great match. I really thought Spears was going to pull it out anyway, especially when they brought out the barricade against the ring. But hey, look, Cody's the best face in the business right now. They had Jericho win the AEW championship back last summer as a heel. Why not have a face win the championship this time around?
Now, Carlos, let me ask you a quick question, a two-part question, actually. One, what do we think of Shawn Spears from here on out? He's with this legend, one of the greatest minds in wrestling history, Tully Blanchard, who wasn't there this week, but he's been with him for months and months, and nothing, absolutely nothing. Do we think this is like a downward spiral for Shawn Spears? That's my first question. And my second question is, if we are headed for Cody versus Archer in the finals, do we think that Archer wins the belt and keeps it away from Cody, and that drives Cody to be more heelish?
So, part one, I don't think that this is going to be almost like a be all for Shawn Spears. I think what we're going to get is, he's been looking for a tag team partner. I don't think he's going to get a tag team partner now. I think he's going to get two in the Revival. Now that we know that the Revival is no longer with WWE and it's null and void, it would be perfect for the Revival to have a manager in Tully Blanchard. Those three alone, no Shawn Spears, and no offense to him, those three alone are gold. That is perfect booking if you have the Revival being managed by Tully Blanchard. They basically are the Four Horsemen. Like they look, what's the name? Looks like freaking Arn Anderson's kid anyway. So why not, right? Why not? And he have to go after Cody. So why not do this? Random in my head. Do this. Have the Revival show up on Dynamite, take out Cody in his match, rebuild that storyline. So it's not just Tully and Sean against Cody; it's all four of them against Cody, and build that up. Archer, I don't know what you do with him. That's my only thing now. But that 6-minute promo that Mark mentioned, really do yourself a service and watch it. It's amazing. And that turned me from when we were talking Darby Allin's going to win everything to I think Cody's going to win everything now. That's my only concern about this now.
Well, we'll find out in the next upcoming weeks with the TNT tournament going on. So we'll switch gears and we'll go over to Friday Night SmackDown. And Carlos, we'll let you take that over.
Alrighty, so I'm just going to do a super quick recap because not much happened on SmackDown. We'll talk about what are the implications, but we'll go over the SmackDown matches for WrestleMania. So we had Elias defeating King Corbin. That was a match that was way too long. Very good beginning that they were able to do some like hardcore stuff just because of that needed some blow off heat from Corbin trying to kill Elias. But it was an overall okay match. I thought it was a good first showing for SmackDown at WrestleMania. Pardon me. And then so our next SmackDown match, at least on night one, was Sami Zayn defeating Daniel Bryan. That was a great match.
One of my favorite matches.
Yeah, it was one of mine. The only issue I had with the match was we had these kind of lackluster finishes back to back. We had the Becky kind of pinning Shayna like everyone else does when they put her in the the Kurafita clutch, and she just like flips over and pins them. That happens to Shayna way too often that I was upset with that. And then going to the Sami Zayn match, and then I was surprised that he won fairly clean against Daniel Bryan. That was the most exciting thing about the Sami Zayn win right there. But it was a decent match. That was a really good, just like not anything crazy, not knockdown, drag out, but just a solid wrestling match. And then we had probably one of the craziest SmackDown matches: Morrison defeating Uso and Jimmy Uso and Kofi Kingston in a triple threat ladder match for the single ladder match for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships.
The Tag Team Championship.
Tag Team match is a single match. I thought that was a great match. That was, I think, the perfectly timed for all the crazy spots, the hope spots. No crowd interaction was fun only because you could hear Jimmy and Kofi just talk crap to each other. That was another one. So we had 3 matches in a row that had these like weird wonky finishes that I was not happy about. That was not
Morrison finish though, because it made him look smart. It made him look smart to grab the title.
And it works for Morrison and it works for Sami Zayn. It didn't work for me for Becky Lynch.
No, I get the Becky Lynch and I also get the Sami Zayn thing because it wasn't really a haluva kick. He just big booted him on the way down. And I was like, the whole point of that move is him running so fast and so far that when he kicks you, it hurts. Like, I didn't like that either, but, I was cool with that whole match. I enjoyed the match. Sami Zayn's hilarious with his crying in the corner, but still finding a way to win. But I thought Morrison was smart. I kind of saw, like, when they both got on the ladders, I'm like, oh, he's going to grab the belts and, like, fall down with the belts. Because most people think of grabbing the actual, like, I guess it's a hanger.
The hanger, yeah.
Hanger. But, like, I'm like, get the belts. The belts are the things you want. So I enjoyed him being smart.
That was a good wrinkle because I was like, oh, this is just going to end in, like, no one winning. And they were like, no, someone has to win.
Right.
Pardon me again. And to build off of that, now we're going to have the second version of that match now next week, which is going to be everyone who didn't compete at WrestleMania is going to compete next Friday on SmackDown. Same stipulation, same match, singles, triple threat, ladder match for the SmackDown Tag Team Champions.
I can't wait to see how Miz worms his way out of this one.
He's going to sneeze on somebody. That's what's going to happen. That's why Roman didn't show up first. But so what I'm going to do right now, because I want to touch on this at the end, I'm going to skip what was SmackDown's main event for WrestleMania, one of the two, and then we'll talk about them at the end. So we'll go to night 2, which our first SmackDown match was Otis defeating Dolph Ziggler and proving that love does exist, with Mandy Rose helping out. This is I want to get your thoughts on this match because it was it was a match that had surprisingly a lot of storyline coming into it. So, Mark, what were your thoughts?
This was the best storyline of any match on the SmackDown roster. And you can make an argument that other than Edge and Orton, it was the best storyline match ever.
Yeah.
And you know what? They didn't go over the top. They didn't have, Otis dominate. They gave you lots of false finishes. It was really well done. I really liked the way it was done.
Now, Nick, what do you think of what do you think the crowd reaction would have been at like Tampa Bay if Otis got that kiss from Mandy at the end?
They'd be like, "Oh yeah, Tucky, that look good, Tucky." That's how they would have reacted, because that's exactly how he reacted. And any person that gets to make out with Mandy Rose probably reacts. So I'm pretty sure the crowd would have enjoyed it. It seemed like everybody on the internet enjoyed it, obviously, because like I said last week, when the good guy wins and gets the girl, everybody goes home happy. So it was a good match. It wasn't long. It was 8 minutes or so. And it ended perfectly with Mandy Rose socking Sonya Deville, and then just a vicious low blow to Dolph Ziggler.
Oh my God. That hurt me, man. That was like, damn.
That looked like that really hurt. Like
she went for it.
Yeah, she really went for it.
All right, so our next match was Bayley defeating Lacey, Naomi, Sasha, and Tamina. I know, Mark. I know you wanted Lacey to win, man. I know.
Close.
I thought it was going to happen. I honestly did.
No, I told you guys I do not see Bayley losing this belt for a long, long time until someone like a Io Shirai or brand new comes in and takes it from her. Because even the Sasha Banks thing, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think that WWE is so scared of giving the belt to Sasha Banks because she's gonna get injured again that they're not even gonna do it. Because Bayley is
I mean, she's won it a bunch of times. She's made. That's fine. Go ahead.
I have a quick question for you two guys, and this is cross-branded or cross promotions. It seems as though Britt Baker and Bayley have the same gimmick. Do we remember who came up with that first?
I think Britt.
Bayley. I think Bayley. I know they're doing that whole role model thing. Like, I'm a role model.
Oh, yeah. I guess it would be. Bayley, because I'm trying to think. Like, it was in the beginning of SmackDown moving to Fox.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I thought that was pretty odd. I wanted to see if you guys had any thoughts about that, about them using the same gimmick.
No, I didn't even put two and two together with that. Yeah, they kind of happen around the same time. It's kind of like a Dante's Peak volcano situation.
We talked about this earlier. Tony Khan's managing on NXT, so
yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine. So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on like Bayley starting the whole thing with Sasha? Like, his last night, like she kind of deferred Lacey to give the women's right to Sasha, and then that's how basically how Bayley won and how Sasha was eliminated. And then last night, Tamina showed up again, which was nice to see. I like to see her on a more consistent basis. But Tamina wants a title match against Bayley. Bayley's like, fine, all you have to do is beat Sasha, and without Sasha's permission at that as well. So what are your thoughts on when is this going to happen? When is the Sasha turn or double turn going to happen?
For me, I think the Sasha turn happens just around SummerSlam. I think she'll endure it several more months.
But whenever Bayley loses the title?
No, I think as much as I was just talking smack about Sasha not winning the title and not being trusted, I think the right thing to do would be to give her the belt. Because if you don't give her the belt, what was the point of this whole long burning story?
Well, keep in mind also that we kind of saw the storyline with Nikki Cross and Alexa.
We've all been waiting for this. This is one of the two things I wanted to talk about.
You've been waiting.
Firefly Funhouse match. The Fiend Bray Wyatt. Go ahead. No, Mark, take it over. I've been waiting.
I'm going to stop you right there. It was not a match. It wasn't a match. Now, hear me out. Okay? I am talking to the people that are watching this video. We thank you so much for tuning in to the Entrance Rant podcast. It was not a goddamn match. It was not WrestleMania worthy. If you take it and you make it a special on the WWE Network, and you say, we are going to have the Firefly Funhouse, a big special live on the network, I would have loved it. The trips of nostalgia that it took. John Cena coming out in his original tights. Ruthless aggression. All of it. You take all of it. From an entertainment standpoint, phenomenal. Top-notch entertainment. I'm not going to argue with it. The problem I had with it was that it was at WrestleMania and that it happened as a match. It wasn't a match. It was an angle. It was a vignette. It was a video. So, in my opinion, the way that you get the Fiend over is you have the Fiend beat John Cena in a match. Again, I was okay with this. It was very entertaining, but it wasn't what was needed to get the Fiend over, in my opinion. And I would love to hear what you guys thought. Again, I loved it. I thought it was very entertaining. If you take it off of WrestleMania and put it as its own special.
I agree to disagree in the sense of circumstances. I understand the circumstances at hand. If this was live, if there was a crowd, I could possibly see this being something where, he came out originally and did his whole spiel at the top of the ramp, and then he went into the whole Firefly Funhouse. But I wonder if there was a live crowd, that this match wouldn't have ended in that ring with the live crowd. So without it was kind of pointless, and they just were like, hey, we're just going to do it in this world anyway and consider that the match. I understand your frustration because I'm the same way in terms of I like seeing in-ring action, but I think that last part of the match would have happened live in the actual arena. The lights would have went out. They would have came back on. John Cena would have been in the middle, and then the Fiend would, be around him, put his mandible claw on, and that would have been the finish, and that would be considered a match. And I mean, we've seen squash matches. I mean, The Rock beat Eric Rowan in 6 seconds at WrestleMania. So, I would have been fine with that. I think it's just circumstance, and that's just how it happened. But nonetheless, A+ in my book. I was fully engaged, entertained. I thought it was hilarious.
It was entertaining, and it was funny. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I will have to agree with Nick. Agree to disagree. I think this is an A+ match, but it's also a psychoanalysis of John Cena and his ego.
It's an A+ match. Come on,
I didn't say that.
There was a pinfall.
It was an A+ segment.
A+ segment.
Fair.
You can't tell me it was a match.
That's fair. There's technically no referee. I mean, Bray doesn't count as a referee unless he materializes a referee shirt. But I think this is a great. Yeah, I think this is a great psychoanalysis of John Cena and his ego and his inability to conform, and then to conform too much to WWE standards. I mean, there's analysis and essays out there already about a John Cena match. I think that is amazing in this day and age of WWE. I, per se, was just picking apart. All right, so for any anime fans, I literally just watched Neon Genesis Evangelion, and it felt like it was the same way. I was waiting for John Cena to sit on just a steel chair and everyone clap for him and say, hey, you finally did it. Hey, you finally did it. And that'd just be the end of the match for our anime fans out there. But it was weird. It was amazing. This was the match I was worried about just because of the Fiend, that I literally paused it to put my son to bed so he didn't see the monster, the Fiend. And we didn't get that. We got this weird psychoanalysis of him, and it was amazing. And it's just Bray Wyatt's like whole demeanor through it, and trying to run John Cena through the mental paces. And I went even just backstage notes, right? So we know that Pritchard and Wyatt came up with the match and basic idea, and that Cena, when he came into it, had some ideas, and apparently they were for the better. And those like I think Bray and Pritchard had like final say and stuff. Whatever Cena said, he added to it, and they took it and ran the ball with it. So I would love to know, like, what were his thoughts? Like, what did he want to break apart about his career? What thoughts he had? What did he want to touch upon? I mean, we also had we had cursing for the first time, I think, ever in WWE for the longest time. Just Vince saying, this is good shit. Like, this was just crazy. It was just a weird psychoanalysis. Like, I want to I want to take another day and just like watch it and just fully just that segment, just watch it again with everything, all the essays that I read this week about it, and just have that in mind. But I think I go back and forth. I think the Boneyard match, it is a match. I will say there is a decisive win. There's a way to win that. It's not a psychoanalysis. I think that is probably a better, out of the 3 cinematic takes that we had this week, I think that was the better one. I would put the Firefly segment after that. I'll call it a segment. That's fair. Yeah, there's no referee to count a pinfall. There's no way you win. I think he just erased John Cena from existence. And and then Chop I would put last. But yeah, I implore you, like if you love wrestling, watch the match, and I would love to see comments. I want to see people talk about it. I want to see people to be like, Mark's right, Carlos is wrong. I want to see all of that because I loved it, and I can understand 100% why no one would like it. Like I 100% get it. There's no like, oh no, you suck or whatever. No, like no, I get if you don't like it, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And then I guess I want to end with our new Universal Champion. We touched on it earlier when Nick was speaking about Brock and Drew, and basically the template for Brock and Drew's match was Braun Strowman versus Goldberg. We have a new Universal Champion. He is someone who's there every week. He's not a part-timer. He's not a Hall of Famer. And we have Braun Strowman winning the Universal title 2 years too late. So, yep. Mark, what are your thoughts on his title win?
I think you said it best. 2 years too late. This is a guy that when he broke away from the Wyatt family, you kind of saw a big star in the making. He had his match against Brock Lesnar, and I thought that would have been how you make him. You have him beat Brock Lesnar. It didn't happen. So I'm glad that he has a chance. I don't know what opponents you're going to have for him. I mean, do you put the belt right back on Bray, or do you have Bray and Strowman go at it? I'm kind of, that's something I'd like to see. But keep in mind that Strowman isn't really a full-fledged face. He's not really somebody that you're going to be a role model and love and support. He's kind of like a badass that you're going to really like to watch, but he's not like a, say your prayers and eat your vitamins kind of guy. So it's kind of interesting to see where they go and who they match him up with.
Yeah, and we know at least from last night, from his match with Shinsuke Nakamura, was a little lackluster. Not necessarily even a title. It should have been a title defense where he puts over someone for his first title defense already, being Shinsuke Nakamura. But at the end of that, we have Bray Wyatt officially stating that he's like a disappointed father in Braun Strowman. He took him out of the swamp, and that Braun has something he wants, and he's going to come and get it. And then Braun could have played that any other way. He could have played that any other way where they just been like, hey, he's going to be like menacing and say something. But Braun went full, like, more character stuff with him where he's a little funnier. He is actually pretty funny. And he went, hey, Bray, I'm ready to let you in. Goodbye. And just waved, like smiled and everything. Like, showing Bray's anger toward him. I think that was interesting. So, Nick, where do you think this storyline goes? Like, where do we see Bray
I think you put the belt back on Bray Wyatt.
I would think Bray loses, right?
No, I think Bray should win the belt back, and this whole Goldberg thing was a mistake. Like, I look at Braun Strowman, and I think Kane, can be around for 15, 20 years and be involved in everything, but doesn't need long title reigns to prove who he is. Like you said, 2 years too late. The belt doesn't mean anything on him. It means nothing, Yeah. Like, it was just a lackluster championship match at WrestleMania. It seems like recently in these past couple of years, WrestleMania in terms of the world title has been very lackluster unless it's a Brock Lesnar match where it could go for a while. We kind of knew that this one with Drew McIntyre would be quick. So I really wasn't expecting a long fight, but I think he's a transitional champion. Put the belt back on Bray, and then have Roman come back and try to defeat Bray as was the plan. Unless they go a different route and somehow Cena costs Bray the belt. and then they continue that feud, or and then let Roman take the belt from Strowman. But I think you should put the belt back on Bray.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I just worry that you're going to kill any momentum again that Braun Strowman has. But
I think he's just like the Big Show and Kane. He is Teflon now. Like he it doesn't matter. Does it matter? He's a giant. Like he can win matches and we would believe it, and he can lose matches and we'd be like, eh.
I concur, for the record.
Yeah, I mean, and he's climbed the mountain. I guess that's the closing storyline for that. So I mean that's it for me on SmackDown and WrestleMania SmackDown. Yeah,
so we have covered AEW, NXT, SmackDown, and Monday Night Raw, and including WrestleMania 36. If you gentlemen have any closing thoughts, I'll put a couple minutes on the board, and you can go at it. The one thing I did want to promote real quick was obviously, like I said earlier, with the Dark Side of the Ring. That was the one thing that I watched this week where I thoroughly enjoyed, the outside of the character, the actual human being is very important. And in this time of being home for your mental health, it's always good that people in the wrestling industry always make sure that they're on the right mindset. So I would suggest watching that just so you know not to go down the wrong path like someone like New Jack.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any closing thoughts. I didn't know if Mark wanted to speak anything about the X completely letting go of their employees.
No, I don't because I kind of saw it happening. It's happened to NFL. It happened to base. Well, they haven't laid anybody off, but the season's gone. So no, I didn't want to discuss XFL. What I wanted to bring up is that AEW has taped between 22 and 26 matches. They are covered for the next 3 to 4 weeks of TV. Plus, if you're a fan who watches Being the Elite, which I am, they're having matches at the Young Bucks house, their training gym, their wrestling ring on a tennis court.
Yeah, they're actually decent. Yeah.
So in my mind, I believe that the TNT Championship tournament has been done. I believe that they've already taped that, and they've done very well keeping spoilers from getting out. And I just hope that they take this time over the next 3 to 4 weeks and stay contained, stay quarantined, stay socially distancing, so they can get back together for another series of tapings, maybe at QT's gym. Because I really like that environment. It's much better than NXT and the Performance Center, and continue having matches taped. And then when we kind of get an idea of when we can get back to quote unquote normal, they kind of have everybody wanting to show up and wanting to give 100%. And that's kind of my thought.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's a good off season for a lot of wrestlers to get their bodies and minds right. I mean, kind of talking about Nick. I mean, getting your body and mind straight in this time, especially these people who are always like on the road. I mean, AEW has like a more lax schedule than WWE, but still, I mean, it puts pressure on their bodies and stuff.
Yeah. So that's it for me and my closing thoughts, and it seems like that's it for everybody else. So, Mark, take it.
Well, it was an interesting week. WrestleMania was over 2 nights, which I really loved. My body thanked it for being over 2 nights. AEW continues to shine. We look forward to Chris Jericho's commentary this week. And, of course, NXT TakeOver continues. We will have a recap of all of those items next week here on the Entrance Ramp podcast. So, for Carlos, Nick, I am Mark. We thank you so much for taking some time, joining us, and getting away from the real world COVID-19. And we will see you next week on the Entrance Ramp. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Entrance Ramp Podcast. Please like us on Facebook at the Entrance Ramp Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at the Entrance Ramp Pod, and subscribe to us on YouTube by searching for the Entrance Ramp Podcast. We'll see you next time.